that can cost you quite dearly, because if you don't submit the notification on time, and I'll actually just make a note of that. I've got an example, an interesting one later, that you can miss the date and the professional team will say, sorry, you're time barred, and you lose out on the possibility to claim for that item, and it could be significant impact. You know, a couple million rand even. So that's quite an interesting one. Then another aspect of the job is sometimes there will be a provisional sub in the bulk, and the EQS would want to take that work and give it to you as a domestic subcontractor. Quite a common one is doors, ironmongery, that sort of thing, where it doesn't really make sense for them to go out to a separate contractor, a specialist contractor, to purchase the ironmongery, store it, stock take, allow for waste, and then distribute it and install it. So that's quite a mission. There's not that many people out there that do that. So a lot of the time they'll take that package and say, right, can you price it as a domestic now, and allow for all of these aspects of it. So do you need a bit of an additional storeman to manage the ironmongery, which wasn't in the original scope. So that's a little bit of an interesting trade. Then another one is insurance. Insurance claims. You are also responsible for all the aspects of an insurance claim. So if there's an event that occurs, whether it be, for example, we've had two big ones over recently, a concrete pipe bursts while you're pouring, and it lands on a couple of cars, and some of these cars are sort of 1.2 million rand luxury cars. You know, you'll need to institute an insurance claim, because obviously we as a contractor, you have public liability insurance, contracts works insurance, you have all the various different kinds of insurances, and you need to understand these insurances. If there's an event, you need to make the notification, you need to submit the claim, sit with the assessors and sort out the claim, see who's liable for the excess. So that's quite a interesting aspect that you wouldn't think. I mean, I don't think you guys even talk about insurance in any of your courses, but it's something that you actually deal with and you actually learn. You know, you become quite familiar with assessors and all the information that they require. Then the last one, or the second last one, is legal. You as a contract QS, as you progress, you actually become more and more and more of a lawyer. Sort of our commercial director at the moment, you could say 50 to 60% of the time, he doesn't deal with really that many numbers anymore, and if you ask him to measure brickwork, he would look at you with a blank face because he couldn't. It's more you know, dealing with commercial issues, and a lot of time commercial relates to legal issues. Looking at the contract, seeing what clauses are risk to you, if they are a risk, how you'll deal with them, that sort of thing. And to me, you know, I've been in the industry now 10 years. The longer I'm in it, the bigger the legal aspect becomes, and the more involved you become, especially at tender stage. I understand you looked a bit at the contract last week, and the importance of a contract, especially during tender stage, and looking at things that are a risk to you as a company, because a lot of the time, you know, we all know the standard JBCC, and we as contractors, we like the standard JBCC. Everyone understands it. It's pretty fair and that sort of thing. But a lot of the time, you know, you'll never get a standard JBCC contract. You'll get a JBCC contract with a few amendments, or you'll get a JBCC contract that is totally bastardized and chopped and changed, and it becomes a huge risk. So the more you progress, the less you start looking at measure, and rates and that sort of thing. And the more you start looking at legal issues, commercial issues and that sort of thing. So that's quite an interesting aspect of it. So it's the legal side would be contract documentation and the risks attached to it and how to mitigate those risks. Notifications, which I spoke about, making sure that the correct notifications, and then also disputes. You know, obviously we try avoid. I mean, in my career, we've never really had a proper dispute that's actually gone to arbitration. You know, we always resolve it and things like that. Up until 2 weeks ago, where now we've got our first situation that we just cannot resolve, and we're actually going to go to arbitration. And now, you know, you need to prepare almost like a legal case and make sure that your claim is something that an arbitrator with a cold face will understand and see that you've tried to be reasonable and see the case from your perspective. It's another whole dynamic. And then lastly, just a general duty of a contractor QS is really, you know, you're part of a team. And for me, you've all got one common goal, and you've got sort of your contracts manager, your programmer if it's a big job, your project director if it's a very big job, your site agent, your foreman, your junior foreman, your engineers, junior QSs, all of that. And you've got all of these people working together for a common goal. And it's just really, you know, I was involved in a few big jobs, the stadium being one of the last ones. And, you know, the friends you make there and everything like that. And working together to solve problems and make sure you're getting paid for what you're doing and that sort of thing. So your role is really as a team player, working together, strategizing, thinking on how you're going to do something, how are you going to tackle, let's say there's an issue and that it could possibly cost the client money. Are you going to approach the client and maybe make him a bit unhappy if it's not a big issue, or are you just going to let it pass and only, you know, keep the client relationship and the professional relationship and only tackle him on the big items and not upset him on the small ones? So it's these kind of decisions, and you as a contract QS, and as you get more senior, you're involved in these kind of decisions, and it's quite fun, and especially, you know, when you make a suggestion and the whole team supports you, and that's the route you actually go. You know, it's quite a nice feeling. So I hope I haven't confused you or anything like that. But really, that's really the main things that I can think of. If we go to the next point, the duties of the PQS during the construction stage and the relationship between the PQS and the contractor's QS. For me, the PQS, you know, relationships are key, and I think the best way to conduct yourself and conduct business in general is to try be and fair and reasonable and obviously honest as possible. If you know, always think of it from their point of view, where if I was a PQS and a contractor's QS put in all these claims and told me all these stories, and I found them out to be untrue, you know, how am I ever going to trust this guy again? So I think, you know, yes, you do take chances and you do try to sneak a few things here and there, but nothing unreasonable, you know. You don't want to be, what's the word, unethical, or whatever, so to say, lie. Because I think it's about trust. And if the key to a successful project is trust between contractors and the professionals, whether it be between the architect, the engineer, and the contract manager, or whether it be between the PQS and the QS. If you have trust and an understanding, then I just think, you know, things just run so much more smoothly. You know, all of our jobs, we've had a good relationship with the QS have just been a total success for both parties, and the client walks away and he feels, I've got a good building, I wasn't cheated or overpriced, my quality's good, and both parties are happy, and the contractor walks away saying, we did a good job, we did it on time, and we got what paid what was fair. Whereas if you have a bit of a conflict, for example, we've got a job now where the senior QS and the PQS actually have a bit of a what's the word? Character clash. You know, their personalities just don't gel well. And it's a fact. It's a fact of life. You know, it's not because it just happens. So you know, already, and you can see it. You can see it in the cost reports. It's a great job. It's a simple structure. It's a parking garage, a massive parking garage. You know, you don't have brickwork, you don't have plaster, you don't have plumbing, you don't have toilets, you don't have little bathrooms. It's just a massive concrete structure. You power float your floor. There's your floor finish. You put a bit of fire control and stuff. So it's not a complex job, but and our margins are good. Our wastages are good. Everything is positive. We were really excited about the job, and it's about 3-4 months in. And we've noticed now that there's a personality clash, and you can see in the cost reports, you know, that the money's not coming in, that the team isn't working, the professionals aren't, and what do? So, you know, the only thing is because the relationships aren't there. So, the main thing for me is a relationship, you know. You don't have to be best friends, and you don't have to be chummies and everything like that, but have some kind of relationship between them, and I think you as a contractor's QS, it's your responsibility to make that effort, because the PQS has got the money. He's the one with the money, and he's the one who can be, I don't want to be rude here, my contractor now, but I'm not very nice about it, you know, and if he doesn't like you, and if he doesn't think something's fair, he's going to say no, he's going to say no, he's going to say no, and you're always going to have this fighting, where if you've got trust and a good relationship, and you can talk to him, he's going to understand your problem and say, you know, okay, I see, I'm not going to pay you everything, but I'll maybe meet you halfway or 70%, and you've got this back and forth. So what we're actually doing on this job now is we're actually changing out the QSs, you know, because it's 4 months in, it's a 18-month project, 360 million, and if already 4 months in, it's not looking good, you know, we need to change it. So, then, the time, sorry. Okay.
I think you're good, yeah.
So, that's the one thing, is relationships. The other thing that we would expect from the PQS is obviously the monthly certificate. Once he submitted the monthly evaluation, he has varies usually about a week to look at it and issue you with a certificate. Obviously, the certificate is very important because once the principal agent signs it off, it's almost what you would say a legal document. I'm sure you've gone through that. And so it's quite important, and it's quite important to understand what he's paid you and where. So if he short paid you on an item, you know, you need to understand why, and then maybe try to get it resolved for the next valuation. From a PQS side, that time from when you get the valuation to when you have your certificate, it's a very high pressure time for you. You know, you can have a huge certificate. It might not be your only one. A lot of the times the PQS might have 2 jobs that they're dealing with, 3 jobs that they're dealing with, depending on the size. And so obviously they can't go into detail on every little item, and oh, you're claiming 150 cubes there and I get 140. You know, he's just going to pay you what he gets, whether he's comfortable. And it's important that you understand that and then sort it out for the next valuation. Because sometimes, you know, sometimes he does short pay you a hell of a lot on a certain item, and he just doesn't understand maybe what's happened and things like that. It just needs a simple explanation. You need to go see him, sit with him for 20 minutes. We had an item now where we're digging a big hole in Century City, and I mean, how hard is it to dig a big hole and measure a big hole? It's you know, length, width, height. Okay, it's not too hard. You know, you have your levels and all